Hello. Yeah. Yo. Yo, Amber. What's up? I might rant. I'm not really in a ranting mood, but I have been saying for fucking years. I've been warning people for years, and nobody wanted to listen to me. Nobody wanted to listen to me. I predicted that we would fall lower. It wasn't that hard to figure out. Not that hard. There's a certain way that recovery works for alcoholism, period. I'm sorry that the multi pathway that you wanted doesn't exist. So I'm gonna kind of go over why and the changes that need to be made. Um, ooh, how fun! Ingrid's taking her son to his first archery lesson. So yeah, I love archery. I used to my friend and I, the same guy that I wrote that gaming system with. I thought he was my best friend, but I don't know that he really reciprocated. But we would go shoot bow and arrows, and he shook a lot. It was just I don't know what it was. It was something he had. He had to take meds for. He'd like shake, bullseye. I'd shoot. I'm all straight and everything. Pew. Him again. Oh, shaking, bullseye. Like you son of a bitch. So, but yeah. Um, I'm going to say wait till the 3 minute mark, but we're there. So, welcome to the Daily Trudge. This isn't really a Daily Trudge, but yo. Now we got Amber said the same thing. She said yo, so now we got yo. Like I said, I'm not gonna go off. There's no point. There's no point. If you're here, please say hello. So Colorado was the 48th worst state when it came to recovery. And October, I mean it's usually about September, October when the news comes out on how we ranked for the previous year. So it would be 2023. Every other state improved by at least 10%. Every other state, all 51 of them, except for Colorado, who is 4.3 worse. Worse. All this work I'm doing, is it for nothing? No, it is not. See, I've been watching this coming for years. I tried to go to the government. I went to the attorney general. I went to everybody, and nobody wants to listen. They don't want to listen. Today I sent an email to the people of Colorado. Daryl, I don't know that you want to come in on this one, but I'll bring you on. All right.
Ain't nothing you can say gonna hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I'm not here to hurt your feelings anyway.
I know.
So, I'd give me 1 second here. I gotta get everything back in place. There we go. All right. The first problem that we have in Colorado is the lack of people working at detox. It's the number one. It's the first place. Now, in our big book, it talks a lot about where we meet the new people, things like that, hospitals. Now it's detoxes, and the hospitals really aren't going to let you in. So the detoxes in Colorado, nobody in recovery is working there. So when we say that one alcoholic working with another alcoholic is the best way to go, that is not how recovery is starting in Colorado anymore. It is being started on a clinical level. Okay. And, when you have an alcoholic, and you're talking to them, I mean, and I went to work for Detox. I went to work for East Metro Detox. And I also worked at Wash House in the 90s. Now, when I worked at Wash House in the 90s, we were seventh in the country. And almost every single person that worked at Detox was a recovered alcoholic. Now, the people with bachelor's degrees and our clinical people were in treatment where they belonged, and it was great. So I'm never going to say we don't need professionals, because we do. I'm not going to say we don't need treatment, because we do.
That was true until Laridan bought him.
Well, what kind of happened? And I don't know what president it was, but he came along and said, so a detox back then, you got paid one way, and that was a success rate, and it kept us accountable. See, success rate kept us accountable, but what happened is they came along and they said, we will pay you more money, detoxes, if you hire people with bachelor's degrees, because they were going after education. And that's what happened. And Colorado jumped on board, full board. When that happened, Arapahoe House shut down. Because of that move, Arapahoe House, our number one treatment facility, who is rated one of the number one treatment facilities in the United States, was shut down. Okay? It was run by, now I forget her name, doesn't matter. She was also my mother's sponsor. And I went to her house, and she lived in a very small 2-bedroom house. She owned a bunch of stuff, and she was the owner of Arapahoe House. Joe Wright, that was her name. Joe Wright.
Yeah, Joe.
And so what would happen when I worked at Detox is, maybe I had 10 clients, and I would sit down with them, and we'd figure out where they were at. Was first. And I'll give a really good example. There was one guy, I'm going to call him John. I don't remember his name. And I think I was talking to him for like the second or third time. So like the second time I was talking to him, he had that really good line. He said, I'm not willing, which pretty much shuts up everybody, but not me. And I said, John, that's fine. My job is to make sure you're safe and things like that. But I'm here to help other people, and you're wasting my time. I'm tired of it. He's like, well, then I won't come back here. I said, great, good. But what you're going to do is you're going to sign this contract. If you're back here within 2 weeks, you're going to treatment. 3 days later, he was back, and his ass went to treatment. These are the things that alcoholics can do. Now, was that contract legit? Not even close. Nope. But he felt committed. He felt accountable to me because we agreed that he was wasting my time. Now, an alcoholic can do that. So when I tried to get sober this time, I kept going to Detox begging for help. And all they would ever do is hand me a piece of paper. That's all they ever did. And so I started asking, are you in recovery? And none of them were in recovery. Then I would listen to them, and they're talking about going to, the bar after work, So I went to work at Detox. Well, actually, what I did is I applied to work at Detox at Washington House. They send me a letter back, and they say, we appreciate everything, but you don't have a bachelor's degree, so you can't come work here. And that's when I figured out what the fuck was going on. I'm like, oh, no wonder they couldn't help me. They can't even help themselves. These are just kids who got out of college who could barely even wipe their own butts, probably living with their parents. Right? So that
ones.
I'm sorry?
CAC ones.
Yeah. So I go to work at East Metro Detox. Okay. So what happened was I got pissed, and I started, I actually went to the mayor, Kaufman, and I told him, he's like, because he tried to go live on the streets for a week. So I figured he had a service heart, and he actually helped me get peer support into Detox, but they wouldn't listen to me on how to do it. They decided all by themselves on what they were going to do. And it turned into a fucking mess. Okay. It turned into this whole recovery coaching So yes, I was integral in that. Nobody even fucking knows. I don't. Who cares? All right. We weren't going to have a detox. So I go to work at the detox that finally I can get in, whatever. And not one AA meeting. Okay. The biggest argument amongst the people working there was whether or not the clients could have Netflix. That was the fucking argument. That was the biggest problem every day. And I'm over here going, okay, what treatments do we work with? Oh, we don't have any treatments. I'm like, okay. Okay. So I worked there for 3 months. I did not send one person to treatment because there isn't any. But what I did do is send a bunch of people, homeless people, to sober livings who got body brokered and sent back. And that's when I confronted Detox and we got into it. I'm like, you guys are supporting body brokers here. You need to end this. It is your responsibility. The stigma that was there. We were still doing paperwork by hand. Everybody else at mental health at Aurora Mental Health was on the computer. We had a separate phone system. If you were a new person and started with Aurora Mental Health, you have to start at the bottom. Well, it was Detox. And I said, why is that? Why is Detox the bottom? But the main problem there is that we do not have recovered alcoholics working in detox. That's the problem. One alcoholic helping another alcoholic without any expectation of return is the only way it will work. Otherwise, it's frothy emotional appeal. It's frothy emotional appeal. What's the other problem in Colorado that's hurting? That's hurting Colorado. That's hurting AA. Okay. They're called all recovery meetings. How do I know? Because I started them 3 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember exactly when. Recovery coaching was coming around. I was working with a company. And I said, why don't we have these all recovery meetings? They want to call it any fucking A. I'm like, no, quit swearing. We call it an all recovery meeting. And what we do is we say, we're a bunch of recovery coaches who will want to help. The meeting is free, but if you'd like more help, then we need to get your Medicaid number and do all this. It was very transparent. Now they're infested in these fucking clubs, okay, AA clubs, letting these people in without checking week. That's a problem, okay? And what they're doing is they're coming into our AA meetings. They're talking to these newcomers and they're saying, you don't need AA. What you need to do is become a recovery. I'm getting a lot of back from you. Do you have me on like a speaker or something? There we go. Okay. Whatever you did worked.
Mute.
So the meetings, and what they do is they say, hey, you don't need AA. We're gonna make you a recovery coach and you can help. And I get it because it's service work, right? They make it look like the 12th step. But what this is two-stepping. And I'm not talking about the country dance. Two-stepping is when you do 1 and 12, but you don't do any of the others. They will tout multiple pathways, but have done none of them. Just ask. Okay, well, which multiple pathway did you choose? Oh, I'm a recovery coach, which is not a multiple pathway. So, this person has 2 to 3 months of sobriety, maybe less. Okay, maybe a little bit more, but they're also young, easily impressionable, and gosh, they're easy to manipulate. Right? We're going to do you one better. Okay, and I know this because I watched it happen in my recovery coaching class. There was a kid in there, 2 months sober, who relapsed during training. He graduated and went on to be a sober living manager. We all know he's going to fail. We know he's going to fail. Everybody knows he's going to fail. It's the point. Now that person is going to be a sober living manager. Well, guess what? They relapse. Now what are they? Now they're a client. That is body brokering. That is body brokering to a T. Last month, recovery coaches, and recovery coaching in Colorado is just off the table. It's been inundated with so much crap with we're going to have a carnival, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Let me tell you what some of these people are doing. Okay. So there's a grant out there through the Colorado Consortium of Prescription Drugs. And if you go talk to a person, get their signature, they will give you $50 for every single signature. So they're going to these hotels and motels, which are big trap houses where these people hang out, and they hand out drugs for signature. That's what they're doing now. Then they're taking that money and going on vacation to Hawaii. That's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did with the grant money. The abatement money. What was the abatement? Abatement means prevention. Okay. Notice Alateen is not around. Alateen is the number one prevention, and it's done intentionally. The government don't want it. I don't want it because it means that we're going to get better, that we'll get knowledgeable. They don't want that. If they didn't, stop going to your drug dealer for help. Just stop it. Okay. So they took the abatement money, which was the prevention money from the Sackler opiate. Okay. It was a bunch of money. So what they did is they sat down with all the owners of sober livings and the RCOs, which is a recovery center organization. Okay. And they are supposed to help. But what they decided to do, okay, all the people on this committee, and these people don't work for the consortium, they're part of the committee. But it's weird that all their resources and the people on the committee are the same and none of them are AA. So they decide what they're going to do is they're going to put roofs, ROOFS, on sober livings. Actual roofs, tear the roof off, put it on. Okay. Most of these sober livings are rented, number one. They are not owned. Okay. Then it just happens that the one that decided that, her husband was the one that got the contract. But not one, actually, one prevention thing did happen, but that's because I said I was going to do it and the Hornbuckles wanted to copy me. That I make them do events all the time. Anyway, that's aside from the point. Okay. So these people are inundated in every area now. They also work for the Office of Behavioral Health. Okay. Lift the label. Voices and Faces of Recovery. All government owned. It's all government owned. Anything you see stigma is government owned. Now, why are they fighting stigma? Because they want you to argue. We stop fighting everything and everyone, including stigma. You cannot fight stigma. You will lose every day. All you can do is be a better example. It's all you can fucking do. All right. So we're only at the beginning stages of recovery. So even from the very beginning, Colorado believes that AA is not the way. The Colorado government does no longer supports 12th step. If you go to the behavioral health, if you go to Adams County, if you go to any of them, what you will find are their programs. You will not find AA. Nope, no links. And I've asked, and they will not respond. So, I worked at that East Metro Detox, and I'll tell you, I didn't want to go to work there, and they begged me. And I told Malcolm, he's the executive director, he's not in recovery, so I'm not blowing anonymity. I told them it's going to ruin our relationship, but they were so desperate for people. The training, none. I got no training. Mm-mm. They didn't even drug test me. All right. And I'm like, I'm an alcoholic. You can't trust us, And I could go through and complain, but that's not going to solve anything. And I mean, it'd be like me sitting here for an hour and telling you what it was like. You already know. So therefore, I have no outlet to treatment. I have no outlet to anything. Okay. The number one thing that I did while I worked at East Metro Detox is if they wanted to leave town, I could do it in an instant. Yeah. We had plenty of money to ship people out of town. We did. All right. I'm gonna switch gears here a little bit. because I've kind of covered detoxes. I'm not going to go more into recovery coaching and sober living. It's a fucking sham and it's hit or miss. Okay. Now, I'm not against sober livings. What I'm against is using people for money. That's what I'm against. And I try and help these people out, even though, and they don't know it. It doesn't matter. I have a liaison. Okay. And only this person and me knows that I'm helping. That's it. I'm not going to bring up their name because it doesn't matter. So, if we don't have one alcoholic working with another alcoholic, right? What else do we need in detox? Well, we need recovered drug addicts. You bet we do. You bet we do. Because wouldn't it be better if somebody comes in with an opiate problem or a cocaine problem? This person's probably going to be able to help them better than me. Yes, yes. And then what we need is we need treatment right away, immediately. No going to Florida, no going to California. You do not need to leave the state. If you're going to leave the state, you're being body brokered. You are, especially if it's Florida or California or Colorado. All right. So, like I said, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit and I'm going to go to AA. I'm not going to put down AA in and of itself, but some of these meetings they're way off course. We're ending meetings with a responsibility statement, which is for professionals. It's not even for us. People are dumping in meetings. Yay, you made it home. Nothing like making it home when you're sick. Not like making it home. Daryl, you're having a lot of fun with those backgrounds. I like that one. It looks like it looks like you're coming down for this guy. It's pretty funny. I would have to say the most frustrating part is the weak ass people in AA letting this happen, not standing up because they think that they don't have a right. You have every right. If somebody is coming into your meeting and interfering, you have every right to speak up. You have every right to say something. It is the main reason that I have decided, well, my home group's open. I decided that the noon meeting, Daryl, is my new home group. So happy trudgers. I make that my new home group and help out. The line, is anybody here willing to sponsor? I don't know when that got changed, and why it got changed or what the thinking was behind that. But I find that to be lazy. I find it to be absolutely lazy. The fact that we're going to sit there, this is how I feel, and it's for me. That responsibility statement when anyone anywhere reaches out for help. So when a person walks into an AA meeting, they raise their hand and say, I'm here for my first meeting. And then all these people are like, who's willing to sponsor? All these hands go up. How's that person really going to decide?
That was the item that I wanted to bring to their group conscience.
Yeah.
Is to change that to, does anybody need a sponsor?
There you go.
Anybody looking for a sponsor?
Yeah. And that was what it was before. Is anybody here looking for a sponsor? And then what happened after the meeting is the person that needed a sponsor was usually surrounded. It was, you got to get there first. It was usually whoever was closest was going to be the sponsor. That's why the grassroots is important in Colorado. We need it. We need it. We need to get back to this invite only. Just shut it down. Just shut it down. AA doesn't need all this other stuff. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. You want proof? I'm telling you. My experience is fact, and that's the way it was.
It was either that or they didn't ask if anybody wanted or needed a sponsor.
Yeah.
They left it up to the person to say something, which rarely happens with a newcomer.
Mm-hmm. I know, Amber. I know. I got a little reactive, but I know you're trying to give me shit. So,
That's
um,
just trying to be funny.
yeah. Well, that's why, the only reason the Daily Trudge works is because other people come on and crack jokes.
Yeah.
That's why I can talk for 45 minutes. It breaks the monotony. So every time you joke, you're just securing what we're doing here, actually. So and that's why it works so well, because it's not about me. Um, I kind of feel like a lot of these AA groups are trying to get their fingers into places where they don't belong. And the thing is, like I just went to a group conscious, and the guy was talking about financial, I don't remember what it was, but it was more like an investor kind of thing. He's like, well, we should put money aside and open a halfway house. I'm like, no, Tradition 6 will not allow us to do that. I would love it if we could. That would help me out a lot, but we can't do it.
No, it
So
has
we're
to
opening a
have to
halfway
be.
house, but it can't
Yeah,
happen.
not
No,
as an AA group. It can't.
nope. You know, now outside of that, um, You know, absolutely. You know what? And you should fucking check. You should fact check everything. Question. Yeah, you should question it. Yeah, because if we don't ask questions, we're not going to know. Well, where did you get that, Dion? Can you give me to where it said that? Because then Daryl came back and said we used to say nothing. So maybe I have it wrong in my mind to where you just saw the newcomer and you went up to him because I was taught that way. So maybe it was never changed. Maybe something was just added.
Generally, you would have, people would end up cross talking if somebody said something like that or what have you. It's like stick around after the meeting. We'll talk to you.
Yeah, yeah,
And you parking lot that thing.
yeah. We got to reinforce those parking lot meetings. I'll go to a Zoom meeting at 4 o'clock. Everybody gets there at 4:05. What the fuck? No, you're at home. Pick up your damn phone. Log in 15 minutes early, 10 minutes early. Let everybody see your pretty face. If you're on Zoom, go on camera. It's another thing. You know, it's
Yeah,
a lot easier to hide when it's on Zoom, man. And if you hide, then you can't put yourself in the middle. So, you know, and so, but now we're afraid to say, hey, turn your camera on, be accountable, be here, because we're afraid of these things. And we got to stop worrying about that.
we don't accept anybody that doesn't have a profile pic.
There you go. Yeah, in your group. Mine's
Yep.
the same way. Yeah. If you don't have it, that
and
means
you,
you're
and
new.
you can't post anonymously. I took that off.
Good point.
It's like
Nobody's
got to
my
be
group's not big
accountable.
enough to worry about that shit yet. So, or that
I'm
thing.
just saying it's like we're here to get sober, to live and be accountable, learn responsibility, and all of those things, and you can't do that hiding.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. There we go. I think Amber's getting it for me. I remember stick around, stay after the meeting, talk to people for sure. And I think I got a little mixed up in my head. And that's all right too, it's okay to be wrong if it's going to make it right. But how would have I figured that out if I didn't
Well,
say something?
that a lot of times that'll come in that statement or whatever when we ask who's here in their first 30 days. Would you
Mhm.
like a desired chip? And if somebody raises their hand, you just say, desire, stick around after the meeting at that time as well during the introduction or when
Yeah.
they introduce themselves.
You know,
But
I don't think it's totally unfair to ask, is anybody here willing to be a sponsor either, though? I don't necessarily
I
think
just
it's
don't. I think
bad.
that I don't know. I find that as promotion, but that's just
Yeah,
my personal feeling.
yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about it at our first group
I was
conscious.
never a big Ed. It's like I'm your fucking sponsor now. I
I
was
need
never that guy.
I'm not that guy. I go up and I usually just say, "Hey, do you have a sponsor?" No, okay. Well, I'm willing to sponsor you. Why don't we meet and we'll see if you like me. If you don't, I'll help you find another sponsor. And
Exactly. That's nothing wrong with that.
that's all I do. But I don't go up and say I am, because that's why I like the other line too, because it gives them choices. And when an alcoholic has choices like that, you might make a better decision, you know. So, um, trying to think of what so I want to get more into what do we do, because it's not like I can go to the government and start fighting and things like it's and it's so slow moving. I think it's just important that we continue, that AA members in Colorado specifically stick to our
Yeah.
guns. Um, Stop letting AA clubs, stop letting any meeting come into you and rent space because you need the money. We can't do that. Let's think on this stuff.
Can we go camp out and have a sit in front of Jill Ryan's office and say you need to include AA?
Yeah, that's is that against the traditions? Because I believe that it is. Is that something that we do? Um,
She'll be pure. She'll be pure political because she runs Colorado Department of Health.
who does?
Jill Ryan,
Department of Health.
Colorado
Oh, yeah.
Department of Health,
I'm thinking of
the
Adam's
director.
Kelly Wedenbach. Okay. Yes. No, you're correct. I'm nuking coffee. Oh, good.
He's a hyphen. I don't know. Her last name's Ryan though.
Okay. One thing I learned is that every AA group is always changing, and that no group. Yeah. I mean, you have different people. You have different areas. Um, and that's what's great about AA is that every single group is autonomous. But people in Texas talk differently than people in Colorado. So it's got to be. You got different, it's principles before personality, but the personalities are going to determine the group.
Well, I can tell you from experience that meetings back east are different. The formats are
Oh,
different.
yeah. Most of us would be offended by meetings back east.
A lot of those, it's like you go up to the podium to talk.
Yep. That's why I loved the church so much, because we had that podium.
That was weird.
Weird. I had to do it too, and it's weird getting up at a podium at a Christian church and telling your story. It's different.
I
Um,
can say you need AA.
um, you know, I'm not sure, what we can do. I don't know that I necessarily have,
I don't know that we're not doing what we need to do.
well, I think we are doing it. See, and
Exactly.
there's a lot of people in Colorado that they're figuring it out now. They're figuring it out, and they needed their proof in the pudding. Nothing wrong with that. But the change is coming, and we got to be a part of it. AA has got to be. If
And
people in
I
AA
think we're
don't stick to their guns, go ahead. What are you
and I
saying?
think we're in our baby steps, and we haven't got our full stride yet. We're still working towards that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Amber. Well, that's because we're the kind of people where you know, if somebody tells me, like in the beginning of the program, um, my sponsor, he's like, Dion, you're getting too big for your britches, right? And my Ray, and I was at the Phoenix concept, and I was one of the only people that was allowed to work. And he said, you're grounded for the next month. You're gonna go do your fourth and fifth step. And I finished it in a couple weeks, and I went to go do my fifth step. And he's like, no, you still got 2 weeks.
I took
He's like, the restriction was for 30 days. It wasn't for 2 weeks.
I was procrastinating. My sponsor just jumped my shit and said, "Get this shit fucking done."
Yeah.
And so I scribbled out umpteen different sheets of paper, kind of
Mhm.
folded them up, and he had one of those houses with the mail slots in the door.
Yep.
I threw it in that thing and I hauled ass. And next thing I know, it's like, where the fuck are you? You can't be doing this and just haul ass. We need to talk, motherfucker.
Welcome to step 5, buddy.
It's like You got some shit on here we got to talk about.
The grudge list is fun until it's about you.
Right?
Um,
Yeah,
what?
my first four step was scribbled on paper, man.
Yeah. Um, I think about the only thing because there, and I'm calling it the clinical way, and it's this clinical way that touts the multiple pathways to recovery, and that's what they say. Oh well, you got to believe in multiple pathways, and I tell them AA is the multiple pathway, and they're like, well, no, it's not. I'm like, well, you didn't get your program, and none of these other programs wouldn't exist if AA wouldn't have been around. So yeah, you're a spinoff of AA, whether you want to think so or not. All right. But I'm going to tell you what I do. I look at the eyes. If they ain't shining, I don't believe them. I don't believe them, you know, and I'm going to know whether or not you did the work just by the way that you talk, you know. Um, it surprised the hell out of me when I asked a recovery coach that I thought was doing really well. I said, why don't you come on and tell your story? You can tell us your pathway. And she said, I never took a pathway. I'm just a recovery coach. I'm like, then what did you learn? So AA, um, AA is it's CBT. It's cognitive behavioral therapy.
And that's how it's done, Amber.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I like the fact that you guys you meet once a week and you have a family sponsorship thing. Absolutely. It's the way it's done. That's exactly how you do it. Right? And I know Amber, you wouldn't have fell for it, but Amber was one of those people that I actually met in the program, and I was like, oh shit, if they find her, they're going to do everything that they can to talk her into being a recovery coach. So I made sure she knew me first, and I do that quite often. I
Yeah,
do it quite often.
I told you when we first started talking about our relationship, it's like I'm not your stereotypical what people consider sponsor type of deal. It's like when I worked with other sponsees and we do a four step, it'd be like it wasn't. I can't think of the better word. Structured
Yeah,
like it shows in the big book. It was like write down. First thing I want you to do is write down your grudges, man. That's all.
yeah,
Just write them down,
yeah,
and we'll go from there and fill in the blanks.
yeah. The the fourth step is what I call an elephant. And how do you eat an elephant? Well, you eat it one bite at a time,
Right.
right? So I always warn. I said, yeah, the four steps kind of big, but I'm only going to give it to you during piecemeal. So don't worry
Yep.
about it. I'm only going to give you a little bit at a time. I'm not going to shove the whole thing on you. No, no,
No.
one bit at a time, baby steps.
Well, more reasons than one. I don't want a fucking folder to
Yeah,
have to go through.
no,
I don't want that personally. My tiny brain ain't going to absorb all that crap and do the best that I can do with my experiences with that.
hmm
You know, it's let's start with who you pissed at, what you pissed at, and just start there, and then we'll just take it from there and go along.
exactly. So AA, okay, this clinical view of things to go. It's the same thing, kind of. Okay. So cognitive behavioral therapy just means that you're rewiring your brain. It's it's changing your thought process through accountability, through the things that we do in the steps. Now, the difference between a recovery coach or something clinical and AA, they have what's called the X factor, and they can't work with it. We call it God. They can't do it. They cannot put God in their business. Now we have a problem, and therein lies the problem. If you remove, and I absolutely 100% believe this, any recovery without a higher power is incomplete. It ain't gonna work. I've never seen it work any other way. Now, I've seen it happen by people going to church. I've seen them find God different ways than AA. multiple pathway. Thank you very much. But sooner or later, you've got to stop making yourself your own higher power. When we go online and say, thank you, so and so, for getting me sober, no. And they're like, you're welcome. No, I couldn't even get me sober, let alone anybody else. Um, the big things to watch for: any company or any person that thinks that they're the alpha omega. If they do not refer out, run, run. You know, stick with AA. AA will help you find the fellowship you crave. I know it will. If you do the work, you will usually even get what you want. Problem is, I didn't even know what I wanted. Not until God let me know. All right. So, but yeah, it starts a detox, man. It starts a detox. And no, as a member of AA, I cannot do anything about it, but Dion Miller sure the fuck can. You bet I can. So, um, all right. I think that's it for this one. I'm glad that we were able to get into some other things too, like sponsorship and the 4-step and stuff. So I'm glad that we were able to do that. Um, I'm really doing everything that I can to make Colorado a better place. I live here, man, and I'm stuck here. I can't move. My wife won't let me. So our kids and grandkids are here, and I'm not moving away from them. So, actually, I'd be fine doing it, but Shannon ain't going for it. I was just ending, brother. So, thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate it. And we'll just, one day, as long as we stay sober, as long as I stay sober, keep my side of the street clean, this stuff will come into fruition. So yeah. Thanks everybody for being here. I hope everybody has a good day. I love you. Peace out and have a day.